Hello everyone, welcome to the Mining Match. Today we have our invited speaker coming back for a second time into the Mining Match to continue or to explain again the topic applications of geostatistics in mineral exploration. But this time he will also share a success story about a project with geotechnical engineering application. So we welcome Anil Mehrotra.
Good morning and good evening to everybody who is attending the lecture. Thank you. I am highly privileged that I have been invited by Alan second time on his channel, most probably due to overwhelming response in the earlier lecture. So today's topic I am trying to cover is the geostatistics, its basics, and its application in mineral exploration and geotechnical engineering projects. This is for the first time I am trying to introduce geostatistics in engineering, geotechnical engineering projects. Let us see what happens. Till today, in India, it is not very common. Very. It is not applied very properly. So, first, something about me. I am Anil Kumar Mehrotra, MMEAI, that is Life Member of Mining Engineers Association of India, ex-Deputy General Manager, Mineral Exploration Corporation Limited, MECL, a mini Ratna company under Ministry of Mines. Now, Honorary Faculty, Department of Geology, Lucknow University, for undergraduate and PG students. Guest Faculty Consultant, Geostatistics, Dr. Dhawan's Academy of Geologists, DDAG. Senior Consultant, Mineral Exploration and Resource Estimation, utilizing geostatistical techniques, AWR Lloyd India Private Limited. My email ID is given, that is akmehrotra1954@gmail.com. My website is www.anilkumarmehrotra.com. YouTube channel is by the same name, Anil Kumar Mehrotra. The link for my YouTube channel is provided on left hand corner of my website. 3 links are provided: LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube. I am author of a book, Geostatistics for Beginners. The book is mainly meant for younger generation professionals who are engaged in mineral exploration, mining and students who are interested in learning the subject of geostatistics. Available at amazon.in, MRP rupees 599 in India and $30 plus courier charges in actual for international market. Now I come to the main topic, geostatistics. I just start with the previous background. The study of variability of regionalized variables is called geostatistics. In early 50s, Professor D.G. Krigg, a mining engineer working in a gold mine in South Africa, noticed discrepancies between the estimated grades of blocks and true grade obtained after mining. Professor Matheron of Center of Geostatistics, Fontainebleau, France, thought that the underlying problem was the correlation existing between the sample values considered for estimation. This correlation had to be quantified as a mathematical function of the distance between the samples. He came out with a theory of spatial correlation. He invented a theory of spatial correlation. That theory he called theory of regionalized variables and defined such variables as regionalized variables. So this is the basis of geostatistics. This deals with regionalized variables which have a spatial correlation. Root cause of the wrong estimation was that the distance between the samples was not being considered for estimation. Geostatistics is an estimation technique. Now I come to the difference between conventional statistics and geostatistics. Difference is very simple. In conventional statistics, we consider only random samples irrespective of their locations in space, while in geostatistics, location of samples in space is considered to study the spatial variability of the variable. And try to capitalize on this knowledge, an estimator called kriging, named after Professor Krigg, was developed for estimation of ore reserves and grade. Kriging is also termed as BLUE, B-L-U-E, Best Linear Unbiased Estimator. By this method, estimation error can be quantified, thus giving the prediction accuracy, which is so very important for taking an investment decision before opening a mine after exploration. Now, I'll answer three basic questions. Geostatistics. When to apply geostatistics? What is expected from geostatistics? And how to apply geostatistics? When to apply geostatistics? Geostatistics is an interdependent scientific discipline rather than a standalone technique. Why I am calling interdependent scientific discipline? It involves geology, it involves mining, it involves the geostatistician. The best combination is if a geologist himself is a geostatistician, then it is much better. It has become a tool available to geologists and mining engineers for the purpose of characterizing a mineral deposit. A geostatistical study properly carried is generally expensive and time consuming, not cheap because of use of computer. What is expected from geostatistics? What kind of reserves are to be estimated? In situ geological reserves, recoverable mining reserves. What is the end use of estimated reserves? Ore reserve reporting, feasibility study, production planning and scheduling. What are relevant geological characteristics of the deposit? Geological characteristics may vary from deposit to deposit, whether homogeneous, bedded type, vein type or disseminated type, and then strike, dip, folds, faults, foliations and joint planes, etc. These are to be known prior to starting of the study. Data considered should be clearly spelled out. Primary assay data on trace cutoff. I am repeating this. Initially, primary assay data on trace cutoff should be considered. No economic cutoff should be applied. Composite zone-wise data along with associated thickness should be clearly spelled out. And then this is most important thing. What are the geologist's views on continuation of mineralization? The geologist's interpretation on the basis of exploration data with the help of geological cross sections along the strike, along the dip, LV section and level or slice plans at different levels on continuation of mineralization along the strike and dip. So his views are to be considered. In case of mineable reserves, what type of mining is envisaged, open cast or underground? Economic cutoff grade to be considered here. Economic cutoff grade to be considered at this time when you are calculating the mineable reserves. With change in cutoff grade, shape of the ore body changes, and on the shape of the ore body, type of mining envisaged, type of mining equipments to be used will depend. Make sure that there is a proper coordination amongst the entire team of project geologists, mining engineer and geostatistician. There has to be very proper coordination among the entire team. How to apply geostatistics? So again here important fact to remember about geostatistics is that it is an interdependent scientific discipline than a standalone technique. The steps involved in a study: collect and check data, error-free data. This should be ensured. Error-free data should be ensured before starting the study. Discuss with project geologists to find out type of sampling procedure followed, change in sampling procedure during the exploration campaign, and why. This point I have put only because exploration project sometimes runs for 4 to 5 years, at least in India. So in the meantime, project geologist might get transferred, and some other man joins, and whimsically or due to some other reason, he changes the sampling procedure. So if it is done, then it has to be very clearly spelled out why it was changed. Different geological zones, preferential sampling of rich zones. If yes, why? It should be avoided. The preferential sampling of rich zones should not be done at any cost. Define regions and variables to be studied. Now, what is the volume support of the sample? This is to be seen whether the data is borehole data having point support, channel by volume support. What I mean to say is what volume each sample represents. Channel sample data, pit sample data, or exploratory mining data. All these different samples have different volume support. All different types of sample data have different volume support. It is very, very important. Samples of different volume support should never be combined. I repeat, should never be combined. They should be treated separately. As volume support increases, variance decreases. That is, they are inversely proportional. Now, step-by-step description of the procedure should be given with all supportive documents. It should be understandable by mining professionals who are not well versed with geostatistical theory and jargon. Define regions and variables, that is, you define the area where you want to do your study and what are the variables. Suppose for iron ore, if you are trying to do a study, so for iron ore you will try to do Fe, SiO2, Al2O3. These are different variables you will be trying to study. What is the support of the variable? Are variables stationary? I'll come to this subject of stationarity slightly later. In geostatistics, big is not necessarily beautiful. What I mean to say is your geostatistical report should be short and crisp. Writing a big report doesn't make it very beautiful. To the point. Now, basic statistical test, mean, variance, standard deviation, scatter plot, frequency distribution, histograms, etc. Check for outliers and their locations. Check for non-homogeneous data. Calculation of experimental variograms. I'll come to variogram slightly later. Fitting of model and use of variogram parameters, SIL, range and nugget effect for further interpolation of the variable. Now, definition of variogram. Variogram is a study of average value of zx plus h minus zx whole square. That is the squared difference between the two values at h distance apart. As a function of distance h, grade and thickness of a mineral deposit are regionalized variables, that is, they have a special correlation. This is defined as a study of the average squared value as a function of separation. Zx h minus m, zx plus h minus m, where m is the overall mean of zx, a regionalized variable. Zx is the realization at x, and zx plus h is the realization at x plus h. Their estimation depends on the distance between them, and this interdependence is expressed in the form of a mathematical function called variogram. The variogram, which measures the average square difference between sample values a given distance h apart, The graph of gamma h plotted against h represents the following features. It starts at 0 for h is equal to 0 because zx plus h is equal to zx. It generally increases with h. It rises up to a certain level called CIL, the C. We represent it as C, capital C, then flattens out. Alternatively, it would just go on rising. The rate of increase of the variogram, gamma h, with h distance indicates how quickly the influence of a sample drops off with distance. After the variogram has reached its limiting value, the CIL, there is no longer any correlation between the samples. That means after this distance h, once it reaches the CIL value, that is once the variogram flattens out, after this distance you cannot do any correlation, you cannot do any estimation after that distance. This critical distance is called the range or zone of influence of the variogram. Now, there are different types of variogram models: spherical model, exponential model, Gaussian model, or power function model. They are all represented. Sample data from ore body can often be approximated by a spherical variogram model. Generally, in mining industry, a spherical variogram model is used. The converse function of variogram is covariance, measures the similarity. That variogram measures the difference, and this covariance measures the similarity of sample values and is utilized in the Kriging estimation method. Now, another thing comes is anisotropies. The anisotropies are depicted by computing the variograms in different directions. If the range of influence along two directions, along dip and strike, in the horizontal plane differ widely, the ratio of the two ranges is called the anisotropy factor. This type of anisotropy is defined as geometrical anisotropy. Other type of anisotropy is encountered, for instance, if layering of the mineralization exists, then the global variation in any direction can be thought of the sum of two independent sources, one isotropic component plus a zonal component, which depends on the number of layers crossed. The difference between the grades of 2 points depends not only on their relative distance but also on their difference of elevation in the layered system. This type of anisotropy is called the zonal anisotropy. So we have seen there are two types of anisotropy: geometrical anisotropy and zonal anisotropy. Higher CIL is observed in vertical direction as compared to the CIL in horizontal direction in case of zonal anisotropy. Variogram models, these are represented as a mathematical function given here. Gamma h is equal to C is the CIL, 3 by 2 h by a minus half h cube by a cube when h is less than or equal to a, and it is equal to C when h is greater than or equal to a. Where tangent at the origin meets the CIL is 2 by 3a. If you draw a tangent at the origin and where it meets the CIL, that distance is 2 by 3a. Then exponential variogram, it is represented by this function. Here in this variogram, 95% of the maximum value of the CIL value is the range equal to 3a. It never reaches the maximum value of 100%. It reaches only 95% of the maximum value of the CIL. That distance is 3a. But where the tangent at the origin meets the CIL at a, where the tangent meets the CIL, that distance is a. This is called the practical range of the exponential variogram. This is considered as a practical range. The slope at the origin is very important for determining the range for both these variogram models. We will not get any negative variance in these two variogram models. Then for third model comes Gaussian model. It can be represented by mathematical function where range is root 3a or 1.73a. Power function is another type of model. It has no upper bound. Thus, corresponding covariance function does not exist. This type of model is not used in mining industry. Thus, it is seen that the variogram takes into account all the geological features, and it can be expected that an estimation procedure based on it can be geologically reliable because it takes care of strike, it takes care of depth, it takes all the geological features the variogram takes into account. Now we come to a very important issue is volume variance relationship. This is very important in the case of geostatistics. An important consequence of the volume variance relationship in geostatistics is that samples considered in a population of boreholes must be of the same length if they are to be represented as point values for prigging. Now, I'll just explain by a simple example how variance changes with the change of support, volume support. You consider a deposit of mean of 2%. There is only one sample which is having a grade of 2%. So what will be the variance of this? Sample to sample, the variance will be 0. For a deposit, if one sample is there, variance will be 0. Now the deposit is divided into 4 blocks with the same mean of the deposit with 1% grade, 2%, 3%, 2%. These are different blocks you have divided the deposit. Mean remains same, but the variance increases to 0.5. Once you decrease the support, so variance increases to 0.5. Now you further subdivide the blocks with the first block with 4 samples, second block with 4 samples. This is just an example. So mean remains the 2% of the total deposit, but variance of first block is 1, variance of second block is 2, variance of third block is 2.5, and variance of fourth block is 1.5. So average variance of the blocks becomes 1.75. So 0, 0.5, 1.75. And once you calculate the samples within the deposit, if all consider you are considering the samples within a block. Now you consider all the samples, 16 samples in a deposit, then the variance becomes 2.25. So hence the variance are additive. This is I want to emphasize, variance are additive. That is, if you add 0, 0.5 and 1.75, it adds to 2.25. So histogram and variance are the functions of the volume of the variable support. Skewness of histogram is inversely proportional to the volume support, and so is the variance or standard deviation. That is, smaller the volume support, higher is the variance or standard deviation. Now, application of geostatistics in mineral exploration, a case study of geostatistical evaluation of a mineral deposit. So this study I had myself carried out. This is showing, the first table is showing the effect of different support after compositing of samples. Initial samples are 2632. Once I bring them to the same length of 1 meter, they increase to 3143. And once, because since the deposit was to be mined by open cast mining with a bench height of 6 meters, so there was a further compositing done with 6 meters, with 1 meter at bottom to be considered. And another option was taken with 6 meter bench height with 2 meter at the bottom to be considered. So now you change this, you can see the change in number from 2632 to 3143 to 565 and 535. Final samples are 535. Where now you come to see the variance. Initially it was 51.56. Once it is composited to 1 meter, it is 43.87. 6 meters with 1 meter, 35.03, and 6 meters with 2 meters, 34.73. So finally this variance is considered for the further study. This is the histogram of the composite after regularization, after compositing. Total count of data 535, minimum is this, maximum is this, mean is this, median is this, and variance is this. Same thing what was I was showing in the table 34.7. So now we have to see the condition of second order stationarity to be fulfilled. That by stationarity means okay, up to a certain distance, the mean and variance. The mean is the first order stationarity and variance is the second order. This is why we are calling it a second order stationarity. The mean and variance of the variable should be constant up to a certain distance. Check for outliers and their locations. Location of outliers within the deposit is very important. It may affect the economic viability of a deposit. Suppose a gold deposit with the mean grade of 1 gram or 1.5 gram per ton has a value of 100 grams per ton, then it will, if you consider it, it will change the economics of the deposit. And if you don't consider it, it will become economically unviable. Calculation of experimental variograms. Experimental variograms are calculated in 4 different directions, in horizontal plane and vertical direction, that is fifth direction, along the whole are depicted in this. So these are the 4 experimental variograms in 4 directions, and this small one is the in vertical direction, that is along the boron. Now the fitting of variogram model, this you can see along the dip, along the strike, the fitting is done, and along the vertical direction. So you can see the range in the dip side, along the dip is lesser as compared to your along the strike. So this gives you the anisotropy factor, the ratio of the range of the 2 directions. The use of variogram parameters, nugget effect, C0. Now, if you see here, this variogram doesn't start from 0. It starts something above in y-axis. This distance from 0 to the point where it starts is called the nugget effect. That is the short distance variability, which cannot be predicted. That is why it is called nugget effect. Cell C plus C0 and range H for interpolation of the variable using kriging. These 3 parameters are used for kriging. Now, once we start the kriging, there are 2 important issues. One is the neighborhood. What is the neighborhood area you should consider within which the samples will be considered for estimation, and that and the discretization ratio and the discretization. So then if you do the kriging with different combinations of neighborhood, you get different estimation variance. If you see here, it is 3 blocks in x direction, 3 blocks in y, and 3 blocks in z. 3 by 3 by 3, 5, 3 by 3, 5 by 5 by 7, 7 by 5 by 5, 7 by 5 by 7, 9 by 5 by 7, 11 by 5 by 7. These 7 different combinations, permutation combinations were tried, and what we find is with this combination, 5 blocks by 5 blocks and 7 blocks, this gives you the minimum estimation variance, that is 2.94 as compared to other estimation variance. This is the most accurate method of estimation. This neighborhood consideration will give you the most accurate results. Now, if you once it is block rigging is done, so for both grade and the tonnage, so then you can have a look by slicing at different sections, and this is a result of the same section of cricked grade and cricked variance. That is your estimation variance. So here what you can very clearly see, it is the cricked grade. The higher the cricked grade, lower the cricked variance. That means your estimation of higher grade is is reliable, and where variance is higher, that is here, you want to increase your estimation accuracy by adding more data to that. So and the most of the area, it was found to be lower cricked variance, that is estimation was more accurate. So that both are inversely proportional in blocks where grade is estimated to be higher, cricked variance is lower. In other words, estimation is more reliable. Misuse of the technique can lead to disappointment if not damaging results. Now I come to application of geostatistics in geotechnical engineering projects. This I'll cover slightly in brief, uh, because at ground investigation stage, rock mass quality is modeled by using rock mass rating RMR, the rock quality designation RQD, fracture frequency FF, uniaxial compressive strength UCS, joint conditions JC, underground water conditions. These are the 5 main factors which constitute the RMR of a project, on which the designing of the project is based. So geotechnical engineering by its nature demands tools for coping with large uncertainties and variations in material properties, to identify conditions prevailing in rock mass and soil, and if satisfied, could convert geostatistics into a real design aid for geotechnical engineers. Geostatistics deals with regionalized variables, the variables which have a spatial correlation. Rock mass characteristics are also spatially correlated and hence regionalized variables. They have some relationship between location and data. Major task in geotechnical projects is to model rock mass quality by using rock mass rating RMR, which is a major parameter widely used in geotechnical engineering. RMR consists of a weighted sum of ratings. RMR consists of a weighted sum of ratings assigned to RQD, fracture frequency, uniaxial compressive strength, joint conditions, and underground water conditions. Rock mass properties are summarized using rock mass classification. The most commonly used scheme is rock mass rating RMR. Intact rock is defined as the rock material found between the two discontinuities. Rock mass comprises of total volume of the rock, including intact rock and discontinuities, and its mechanical behavior can be significantly different. Intact rock properties are density, permeability, rheological behavior. Rheology is the study of the flow of soft solids. Uniaxial compressive strength UCS. In case of rock mass, it's necessary to characterize its discontinuities. This includes roughness, filling quality, and weathering in the discontinuity walls. Rock quality parameters. Strength is determined directly by uniaxial compressive strength UCS, number of joints per cubic meter JV, and RQD is equal to 115 minus 3.3 JV. This is after Palstrom 1982. Roughness. It is potentially important component of its shear strength. Barton and Chaube 1977. Aperture. It is a perpendicular distance separating the adjacent rock walls of of an open discontinuity. The intervening space may be an open discontinuity. It may be open or filled. For example, clay. This parameter also accounts for condition of joints or discontinuities. Filling material. It is a term for material separating the adjacent rock wall of discontinuities. For example, calcite, chlorite, clay, fort gauge, and breccia. Spacing. It is recorded as a perpendicular distance between its representative members. If great variation is observed, average of spacing indicated by various members of a joint set may be taken. The most common classification of joint spacing is represented by DRA 1964-68. Orientation. Orientation of a discontinuity in space is described by the dip direction and amount of dip. For example, 315 degrees and amount is 30 degrees. Its direction is 315. These are calculated by stereographic techniques and computer program. What I am talking now, what is being done presently, that is empirically it is being calculated. That is Huang and Charlesworth 1989. Groundwater inflow. It has an adverse effect on the shear strength of joints. It can be classified completely dry, no inflow, moist only, less than 25 liters per minute per 10-meter length of tunnel, water under moderate pressure, 25 to 125 liters per minute per 10 meters length of tunnel, severe water problems, more than 125 liters per minute per 10-meter length of tunnel. Persistence. It is the spatial extent or size of a discontinuity within a plane. It is roughly quantified by observing the discontinuity trace length on the surface of the outcrop. Very low persistence less than 1 meter, low persistence 1 to 3 meters, medium persistence 3 to 10 meters, high persistence 10 to 20 meters, and very high persistence is more than 20 meters. Number of sets. The mechanical behavior of rock mass is mainly controlled by various sets of discontinuities, their geometry and spatial distribution. Number of sets are mainly determined by contouring poles of discontinuities. Massive occasional random joints, one joint set plus random, two joint sets plus random, three joint sets plus random, four or more joint sets, and crust rock, earth-like, that is after Zhang and Tong, 1988. Bevinevsky, 1973, proposed the RMR rock mass rating, also known as geomechanics classification for jointed rock mass. Then same man, Bevinevsky, 1976-79, modified it and gave 5 basic parameters which are considered for geomechanics classification. that is RQD, strength of rock, spacing of joints, discontinuities, condition of joints, groundwater conditions. These are the five what I described earlier. RMR system largely depends on various joints discontinuity parameters. Chaube and Dhawan, 1990, a rating is allocated to each parameter and overall rating for the rock mass is arrived at by adding the rating for each parameter. So, RMR is calculated by calculating rating for each parameter separately and then adding all the ratings together to give the RMR of the area. Now application. Now I come to the most important point: application of geostatistics in geotechnical engineering project for estimation of rock mass rating (RMR) parameter. This technique can only be applied under certain conditions. There should be a special correlation between sample values. They are regionalized variables. All the samples should have same volume support because of the volume variance relationship is very important. Condition of second order stationarity should be satisfied. Mean and variance should be constant for certain distance. So under these conditions, this geostatistics can be utilized in geotechnical engineering projects. Application of geostatistics for estimating RMR parameter in geotechnical engineering projects. Geostatistics were originated to solve problems of estimation using Kriging, also known as Best Linear Unbiased Estimator (BLUE). It imposes minimization of estimation variance or estimation error. Geostatistics mainly uses various Kriging methods for estimation of regionalized variables on the basis of structural analysis to evaluate and solve practical problems of estimation. Now I'll come. It has. It also has many other important tools such as conditional simulation and indicator Kriging. Correlation coefficient, standard deviation, that is square root of variance, and mean are used to describe the degree of correlation between variables. The main job by utilizing geostatistical technique is to model RMR, rock mass rating, for any geotechnical project. Block Kriging is used. Now I am coming to what different methods can be used for which parameter. Block Kriging is used to estimate average values of an indicator rock hardness and to characterize the distribution of fractures. That is, hardness and fracture can be calculated by block Kriging, can be estimated by block Kriging. Fracture joints to understand the spatial distribution and different scales. Ordinary Kriging is utilized to estimate RQD distribution, associating the estimation of standard error as a measure of reliability. Since RMR is not an additive variable, hence correct approach to spatial prediction is to estimate or simulate each of the parameters of RMR, RQD, FF, UCS, JC and WC separately, which are all regionalized variables, to assign a rating to the estimated or simulated value for each parameter. To obtain the final rating of RMR, sum of all the ratings is obtained. When the variable has a log normal distribution, logarithmic Kriging method can be used. Random Kriging can be used when the data is less, distribution is not large, and prediction accuracy is not required to be high. Factor Kriging and indicator Kriging can also be utilized for estimation. Now, one of my friends, Dr. Sanjay Rana, who is the managing director of AF Academy, is professionally a geophysicist. He has provided me certain information, provided following additional information regarding use of geophysics along with the geostatistics for the areas where prediction accuracy obtained by geostatistical techniques is not up to the mark. because if area is unapproachable, then geophysical techniques can be used. In order to complement geostatistical techniques, the areas where estimation variance is found to be higher, help, help of geophysical techniques can be taken as follows. Seismic velocity measurements can be used to estimate RMR parameters based on data of limestone, mudstone, marls, and shales at a dam site in Wadi Mujib, Jordan. El Naka 1996 obtained an empirical correlation between RMR and P wave velocity. RMR is equal to 59.8 VPF divided by VPO to the power R 0.26. R is equal to 0.84, where VPF is the P wave velocity of the in situ rock mass, VPO is the P wave velocity of the corresponding intact rock, and R is the correlation coefficient. Cha et al. 2006 obtained a simple linear relation between RMR and shear wave velocity. That was P wave velocity, this is the shear wave velocity. Measuring using a refraction microtremor technique in order to evaluate the rock condition for the design of a proposed railway tunnel at a site consisting of different types of granite and felsite, and volcanic rocks, dacitic tuff, and andesite. RMR is equal to 36.2 into Vs minus 10. That is, Vs is the shear wave velocity of the rock mass in kilometers per second. Banks 2005 derived an empirical relationship between the basic RMR and the slope angle in mature natural rock outcrops. Basic RMR is equal to 0.4s plus 52, where basic RMR is the RMR without the adjustment to account for the influence that discontinuity orientations have on the particular application, and S is the slope angle in mature natural outcrops in degrees. The prime reasons for geostatistics not being utilized as a tool for design of a geotechnical project include widespread unfamiliarity with the concept of geostatistics. That is, people, particularly in the geotechnical side, the geotechnical engineers are not familiar with the concept of geostatistics. Lack of dedicated geostatistical software that can be really used in estimation of geotechnical parameters constituting rock mass rating RMR. Now I come to the success story of application of geostatistics in finalizing the alignment of English Channel Tunnel project by BRGM of France. This is the diagram of the, you can say, the picture of the English Channel Tunnel project. This is the tunnel. This alignment was fixed by geostatistical methods and with the support of geophysics. And that was way back in 60s. Success story of application of geostatistics in alignment of English Channel Tunnel project. This exercise was done by BRGM France. This is a milestone success story of application of geostatistics in design of English Channel Tunnel project. It enabled careful assessment of geological risk and was used to optimize the alignment of the tunnel while selecting an optimal alignment for the tunnel. A governing criteria was to ensure that the tunnel was bored only within the chalk marl, only one lithology, chalk marl lithology, avoiding the gold clay lithology. Triggering a geostatistical technique was used to determine the boundary between chalk marl and gold clay based on available data prior to construction. Contours of standard deviation of predicted depths of this boundary were also generated. Geostatistical analysis enabled engineers to improve the tunnel alignment. The standard deviation contours helped to identify the tunnel sections at which improved precision was required, which in turn enabled design of successful complementary geophysical surveys of the seafloor. Now, where this contour suggested that the prediction is not accurate enough, then the geophysical surveys of the seafloor were also conducted. As the data became available from these surveys and ongoing construction, tunnel engineers used geostatistics to repeatedly improve the spatial model of chalk-marl and gold-clay interface. The result was that the channel engineers were able to keep the risk of penetrating the gold-clay at acceptable levels and were able to achieve their objectives of avoiding the gold-clay formation. So I can just inform you this English Channel Tunnel project was taken up by both the countries, Britain and France. So half of the tunnel was bored by the French side from the French side, and half was bored from the British side. And efficacy of this technique shows that both of them met at the same point. I repeat, at the same point. From both the sides, they met at the same point. Conclusions. Geotechnical behavior may significantly impact in the cost and performance of projects in hydropower projects and tunnels. These are the conclusions. Prediction of critical geotechnical parameters is one of the most relevant requirements of such projects. It should be utilized not just during the ground investigation stage, also in data processing and interpretation stage. Thus, geostatistical techniques provide an interesting alternative to traditional approaches. It gives a more precise estimation with minimum estimation variance by taking into account and using spatial correlation between sample values of the variables. Besides estimation, technology provides prediction accuracy also. This can be used for risk analysis and for the design of the project site. My opinion is that geotechnical engineers and engineering geologists should be encouraged to explore geostatistical techniques as a possible alternative to the techniques that are in use today. It should be tried in a phased manner on an experimental basis to make a beginning. It will give a quantum leap in developing confidence of designing of a project. Thank you for patient hearing.
Hello, everyone, out there in YouTube. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.